Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Marketing Gamble. In today's episode I'm going to be doing a full rundown of how I started my business in 2023 because I started it January 2023, it's now January 2024, so I thought I'd do a full rundown of how I started my business and everything that happened. If you don't know who I am, my name's Louis. I started a business in 2023 and I have this podcast called the Marketing Gamble where I basically just share everything that I'm doing and all the marketing kind of secrets and stuff I do to get my business out there. I'm 20 years old, still at uni, and this is just me kind of documenting what I'm doing every week. Missed the last episode because it was Christmas, so I didn't want to post on Christmas. Wanted to have a bit of a break. But I thought I'd just basically run into it. And normally when I do these episodes, well, recently, I've kind of just done them off my head what I'm thinking about. But for this one, I've actually written down on my little notepad all the things I want to talk about to make sure that I mention everything. So I don't know how long this is going to be, but bear with me because I've got some valuable things to drop that you might find helpful if you're thinking of starting a business in 2024 or you've got one and you're maybe you've had one of the problems I've had throughout the year. So starting off with month one then in January. Basically, I got an idea to start a marketing agency after watching it on YouTube, seeing people like Iman Gatsi, Charlie Morgan. He's called Thomas Gannett. I started seeing all these SMMA agency owners who are my age, who are starting businesses and earning, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands a month. And I was like, I want to do that. And they were basically saying, you can do that. You just have to do this, this, and this. So I was like, that's amazing. I want to do that. So that's what I did. I basically got this idea to start a marketing agency. And one of the things that all of the people talk about is to pick a niche. So the first thing I did was pick a niche. And I remember at the time thinking like, oh, okay, how do I actually pick a niche? Because I've never been in an industry before. So I just started thinking about things that I like doing. And at the time, and still now, the gym is a big part of my life. So I decided I would do it for gyms. Not knowing, by the way, that people like Alex Hormozy had gym launch and the gym was a massively saturated market. Because I'd never been in business before. I knew what a saturated market was, but I didn't really know, I thought it was really unique to have a marketing agency for gyms. And it's not. Because I was a little bit naive. So, I got this idea basically to start doing a marketing agency, running ads and Facebook ads for local gyms in my area. Just in my area first, because I thought I can contact those people. I know a few gyms. I've been to a few of the gyms. I could probably get one client that way. So that's what I did, and did that. And the first thing I did was I made a website. Made a website to basically have an online presence because I thought that the first thing you do when you make a business is you make a website. That's like step one, most important thing. And that is essentially what happened in month one because I did not know what I was doing. I just kind of started something and did what I thought the important tasks were, like building a website. I also remember writing down the goals of the business, getting a customer CRM so I could track all my customers, bearing in mind I had no customers. And that's basically what happens. I think the first lesson I learned that month was just that starting was what matters. Because originally I'd had so many ideas in the past, and maybe I'd done them for I'd sat down and wrote out my plan of what I was going to do, but I hadn't actually physically started something. And that month was the first idea that I'd decided to start something for a bit longer than a week. But I still wasn't committed, and this is a lesson I learned later on. I also realised after that month that there were a lot of things I did that didn't really matter, so I needed to focus on the important stuff. Then towards the end of the month, I basically just, after I got the website up and everything, I started teaching myself about ads, because I wanted to run ads for people, so I had to learn how to do ads, started to learn about marketing, and the way I taught myself was just with free YouTube videos and marketing books. Iman Gatsi always recommended reading things like the Personal MBA, and I also read Ogilvy on advertising and copywriting books. I read all these sorts of books right at the start, and just basically get my knowledge up. I watched YouTube courses on Google Ads. They were quite outdated, but I didn't realise. I thought Google Ads was a very it never really changed. It's the same thing, but it changes a lot. So I just watched some free YouTube videos, realised now they're quite outdated, but still I learned the basics from them. And that's basically what I did the first month. So then going into month two, I'm going to break it down months 2 to 5 because months 2 to 5 were relatively the same. and I kind of went through this transformation because in month one, I should say, by the way, that when I started the business, it wasn't me by myself, it was with my best friend, best mate called Ben. So the Labs Media is my business called. Louis Adkins is for me, and then Ben Snedden is for Ben. I'll get into everything we're related to that later. But basically, in month two, Ben's dad reached out to us and he was like, "Hey, I've seen you guys start this business. I think that's really cool. Why don't you do some work for us?" So I was really lucky. We got a bit lucky there. Ben's dad has a small business, I believe. Well, I say I believe. I know he does. I worked for him. He has a small business that's for bridging brokers, which if you don't know what that is, it's basically a type of finance you can get on your house. And I had no idea what that was when he reached out to me, and neither did Ben. But we were excited because he said he'd give us a certain amount of money and to run ads, and he'd give us a commission split on every deal that we got him. And we were like, "Oh my god, this is insane! We're gonna make so much money from it." And that we got really excited over that, and basically we started doing Google ads and Facebook ads for him. Because that was someone we could practice on, real money. So everything I'd learned in month one, I then started to practically apply in month two, and we worked with him like month two, month three, month four, month five. We worked with them all over that period. And I'm trying to see what else here. So what else did I do in month two? I started applying what I learned, and at first the results were pretty. The results were pretty slow because obviously we'd never done it before. We'd only learned what we saw on YouTube, so we just started to. Like the results were slow to pick up. We didn't really know what we were doing, but we were practicing. And I kind of learned then that it's not about what you know, it's about how you apply what you know. That's where the value is. Like it doesn't matter. Like I could know everything there is in the world about marketing, but if I've never actually marketed something before, it doesn't matter because I'm not going to be good at actually doing it. I have to apply what I know in order to be good and valuable to people. So that's the big thing I learned there. And I also learned around that time as well because I made a lot of mistakes. Because a lot of my time was focused on getting the best results here, and I have to say, like month two to month five, they were still now probably some of the best months of me starting my business just because of how exciting it was. Like I was so driven at that time. Like every morning I would wake up, the first thing I'd be thinking about was ads. I'd be going there on my computer, doing it every single day. Like I absolutely loved it, and I think. I can't remember where I was going with this, but I basically remembered. But I was doing that every single day, and I was absolutely loving it. And I was loving it to the point where if I ran out of practical work to do, I would just start filling my time with things that are completely unnecessary. Like I would start again going back to those things like building a customer CRM or writing down what the goals were. I remember I made a whole Notion like for our business, which was like a digital hub for everything with our business. And it's like I spent probably about 30 hours building that, and I've not used it once because I've deleted it all because it was just useless. And what I should have been doing in that time was reaching out to more clients. But really, without realizing it, we were procrastinating because we were scared of going after a cold client because it's scary. We're scared of hearing no. And we didn't do that in months 2 to 5. We just gave the excuse of, we're going to concentrate on Ben. We're going to concentrate on Ben's dad, and we've also got to do all these other jobs. The other jobs didn't really matter, and Ben's dad, we could have quite comfortably done it for somebody else as well. We just were procrastinating. We didn't take the leap that we needed to, and what we should have done really is try to reach out in months 2 to 5 to as many people as humanly possible. And then the other thing I started doing in months 2 to 5 was I picked up the habit. I say picked up the habit. I built the habit because that's what I actually did of reading for 30 minutes every single day, whether it was in the morning or night. So I'd read a book on business or marketing or sales every single day for 30 minutes. Sometimes it'd be 20, but the goal was always 30 minutes. And I basically did that apart from like occasional weeks where it might have been I was on holiday or something like that. I did that for every day for this whole year, and I've read about 35 books. I read quite slowly, so I go through my books. I've always got a highlighter pen. I go through and I highlight things and I reread stuff. So, but yeah, I read about 35 books all on business and marketing throughout the year. But that's when I started to build the habit because again, I was still watching Imran Gatsi quite a lot, and people like that, like Charlie Morgan, who all had these habits. And I was basically just saying, okay, well, they got to here. I want to get to there. I'm just going to copy what they did. And they read books, so I'm going to read books. I'm going to read the same books that they read. And that's what I started doing. So I built that habit of reading, and all I did was I remember I just bought a book and I just said, I'm just going to read this. I'm going to set a timer. I'm just going to read. And the first 2 weeks were so hard. I hated reading. But now it's like something I absolutely love and I do all the time. Right now, I'm actually reading The Diary of a CEO by Stephen Bartlett, which is obviously a very popular, well-known business book, which I'm very shocked that I never read early on, because early on, the business books you think of are the very mainstream ones, and Diary of a CEO is a very mainstream one. But I never read it up until now, which is a year later. But it's a great book, so I'd recommend reading that. But yeah, that's when I started that habit. So that's months 2 to 5 was basically, I also in months 2 to 5 as well, I joined a community of other agency owners where we all had calls and we'd all talk about what our agency was doing and what we're trying to achieve. And that was really valuable, because that gave me a bit of accountability, because every time I joined that call, people would be asking what I've done and if I'm doing what I said I would do last week, and it made sure I was doing things. So that was really good as well. So over months 2 to 5, I was basically just working with, trying to get really good results for Ben's dad, and getting good, basically, and building habits. That's what I was doing months 2 to 5. But what I should have been doing was trying to get more clients. Pardon me. So month 6, I was, So month 6 is June, and in June, basically, what happened is when we had just kind of we'd finished the uni year, so I'd finished my second year of university. And this is when Ben, I'm pretty sure this is when it was, Ben and I decided not to do the business together anymore. We went our separate ways. Now, Ben is my best mate, still is now. And he decided that he wanted to focus on uni and other things. He didn't want to do it anymore because things were getting slow as well. We hadn't made any, we hadn't got any more clients or anything, because we weren't trying to get them, but, we hadn't got any. So Ben decided that he didn't want to do it anymore. And which I completely understand, and so we went separate ways. So I decided to stick with it though, because I'm still here. And when Ben went, obviously his dad left as well, because it's his son, so they left together, and it wasn't like an awkward thing that happened. It's just something that I wouldn't really want to do again, because I don't know how to explain it, but it's just a bit uncomfortable. And so I kind of learned then never to really do business with family or friends. I think that you should ask for advice and get help from them when you can, but try and avoid working with them in partnership, because sometimes it can be really difficult, because you don't want to have difficult conversations because that's your friend. And I think both Ben and I learned that. And I think what we realised is that we'd rather be friends than business partners, and you can't be both. So we decided to not do that. But this is when, in June, so I was on my own then, and I then realised, okay, so now I actually have to get some people. And that is when I started posting content on LinkedIn, because I needed to get clients. So I started posting on LinkedIn. I started doing cold email, started doing Loom outreach. Again, you can see that it's all related to what I'm listening to, which is Charlie Morgan and Mangatsi. They're very cold outreach, cold email. Charlie Morgan's cold Loom outreach. So I started copying all the things they were doing. I started doing cold Loom outreach. I started doing cold outreach on LinkedIn. Started doing cold DM, cold email to try and get clients. And when I say I tried, I sent 10 Looms, I sent 10 emails, and I maybe messaged 5 brokers a week, maximum. And I don't mean that I sent 10, by the way, of emails, 10 Looms every week. I just sent 10. So I didn't do very much volume, but at the time I thought that was a lot. And that's one lesson I've learned. But so I tried that, stopped doing it. And then I also, which I've never spoken about, I believe, on here before, is I also decided to try an e-commerce agency with somebody that I met on LinkedIn. Decided to pick that up because I was struggling with everything related to Labs Media and the agency. So I had that kind of, I don't know what it's called, but I think, is it looking through tinted glasses, where you see this shiny new opportunity that's slightly different, and you think that's going to be so much better than the work I'm doing now. So I decided to do that. And I thought I could do both at the same time. And I tried to. which I couldn't, and I will talk about that in a minute. But I think June was possibly one of the hardest months of the year because of the fact that I was completely on my own. And I remember thinking, like, it was pretty rough because the content I posted on LinkedIn, no one saw because I didn't have any followers or anything. All the emails I sent, all the looms I sent, all got ignored. I didn't have any clients. I felt like I was like saying on my LinkedIn I've got a business and things like that, but like really I had no clients, so I didn't really have a business. And the only person I'd done work for was a family friend, and it'd been 6 months. So I remember thinking, like, this is just not like I thought about quitting in June. I thought about like not doing it, like just stopping because like it hasn't worked. And I don't really remember what it was that made me carry on. Um, I can't really work out what it is, but for some reason I didn't stop it. I must have thought to myself like, if I stop, because I have this mentality now, like if I stop, then I've definitely failed. Whereas if I keep going, then I have the most chance of winning. So yeah, month 6, June was pretty difficult. But the things I did learn in that month, was that number one is that you have to do things for long enough. I think so. In June, I realised that you need to focus on one thing rather. I tried to do like this agency, both these agencies, and that was really hard. I tried to do all these different methods of outreach, and none of those were working because I was doing multiple different things, and none of them were ever working. Because I was spreading my attention across all the things rather than focus on one agency, one method of outreach, and one. I just was all over the place. I learned don't do business with friends, and I also learned that the whole time over the past 2 to 5 months that we were procrastinating the scary stuff, which was cold outreach, hearing no, getting on sales calls with people and having to sell them on your service, and actually giving real results to real people, and not a family who can like kind of let you off the hook if something goes a bit wrong. And I realised the whole time that we gave excuses, and that's what they were, excuses, because we were procrastinating actually doing the hard work. But then, I decided to stick with it, and in month 7, July, I decided that I was just going to pick one thing. And I decided that I was going to basically shift my focus from small projects. This is right, I'm pretty sure. So do it over and over, slow. Yeah, because in July, actually, I was still doing the agency. Yes. So in July, I was still doing the e-commerce agency. So basically, I was still had that like split focus, but I stopped it midway through July. And midway through July, so it was June to like the start of July when I was doing the agencies and I was posting all over the place and I was doing all the outreaches that none of it was working. And then basically I was doing this agency, this joint agency, and I think I just got fed up. I think I got fed up of like spreading myself too thin. And I was like, this is like ridiculous. I'm just going to focus on one business, one method of outreach, and I'm going to do it for a long enough time so that it's just like, it has to work. And that's what I did. I basically stopped everything and just dedicated to focus on the one agency. I started focusing on just posting on LinkedIn to one niche, which was mortgage brokers. I decided to focus on mortgage brokers, and I completely left. We left gyms when we got Ben's dad, who was a finance broker, because we realised we could do more for him. But basically, I decided to focus on my agency, focus it just for mortgage brokers who were not like Ben's dad but similar. And I decided that I was just going to post on LinkedIn and generate all my business through LinkedIn. I was going to get really good at those things. I was going to get really good at having an agency for mortgage brokers and really good at posting on LinkedIn. And I was going to do it. I think I told myself that I was going to do it for 6 months consistently, post 2 times a week, or until I get 1,000 followers. And that was like, I was like, this is it. I'm going to do that. And I remember before that, I was feeling like it was a hard month, the month before that. And I remember when I made the decision, all of a sudden again, I was very like, this is what I need to do. I was very driven. It felt like the start of month 2 and month 3 when I was very like, okay, this is what I need to do. So month 7, that's what I did. And going into month 8, which is August, this is when I really started to focus on my LinkedIn posting. So I built a schedule, which was every Tuesday and Thursday I'd post at 10:30 a.m. and I'd post just about marketing for mortgage brokers. I practiced content marketing as much as I could, write it like as much as I could, like in terms of the content I consumed and the books I started to read. And I did, yeah, started posting on LinkedIn, content marketing, and it also in month 8. It is quite cool. But month 8 was my birthday. It was my 20th birthday, and for my 20th birthday, I asked for $100 million offers by Alex Hormozy. And I'm very happy I asked for that book. I'm very happy I got that book because I remember I got that book and I read it probably in about 4 days. And normally it takes me like two and a bit weeks to read a book, but $100 million offers I just sped through. I just couldn't put it down. And I remember learning this really important lesson about providing value. And before that, I'd always looked at my business as like I'm going to do this for people, and it's a great idea because not many other people do this. But really, what I should have been doing is looking at, I'm going to do this for people, and it's going to really help them because I'm going to give them so much value. And when I read $100 million offers, that's the thing that clicked in my head, was like, starting a business is like about providing value to people. It's not about what's best for me. It's about what's best for the customer. It's about what's best for them. And that's one of the things I really learned. And what I did is I brought this to LinkedIn. So I learned about the value, giving people value and the importance of value. And I brought it to LinkedIn. So then all of a sudden in all my posts, I stopped kind of holding back and I started thinking, what is the things that mortgage brokers really need to know about their marketing? And what can I learn and then just tell them about and just try and make it as helpful as possible? And so that's what I did. And then as well in this month is when I discovered Russell Brunson and who Russell Brunson was, because on the front of $100 million offers, it literally says forward, or not forward, it says, it's got like a testimonial from Russell Brunson. It's like, wow, dude, this book is so good, or something like that. And I discovered Russell Brunson through that book. And so I read .com Secrets, Expert Secrets, and Traffic Secrets. And I read them all back to back. And I think these books, like, changed my life, changed my business, because I realised that it was like that thing I learned from $100 million offers, the value first approach, is what Russell Brunson talks about a lot. And that's when I kind of went all in on that value first approach. And I learned like what an online business should be about. And that's when I learned about it, was from Russell Brunson and Alex Hormozy. And then this is when I've probably, because obviously I wanted to generate business still at this time, and it's when after I read Traffic Secrets, which is the one that applied to me most because I needed to get people to see me, is when I started to build out what he calls his Dream 100 list, which is like the list of 100 influencers that you should try and get in with, build your network with, and they'll get you around to other people. So that's what I started to do as well. So I started to post on LinkedIn, and also on LinkedIn connecting with other people in the industry who had the following of mortgage brokers that I wanted, and started to build relationships with that. That's when I met my mentor called Ash Borland, who's been incredibly helpful to me throughout since I met him. And that's when I met him by Russell Brunson's book, and that's when I met many other people in the mortgage industry who now I consider like to be my friends in a way. And that was all because I just picked up $100 million offers, which made me find out about Russell Brunson, which made me then apply the things in his books, which really helped me. And so I did my posting on LinkedIn 10:30 a.m. Tuesday to Thursday. I started not holding back on value. I started focusing on just LinkedIn and just doing it for mortgage brokers. And when I did all those things, which were all the right things that I should have been doing right from month 2, which I didn't know I should have been doing, but when I started doing all those things, into month 9, it's when I got my first ever paying mortgage broker client. I was following the content schedule, and I also made, along with Alex Hormozy's book, I made like an irresistible offer, and basically I signed my first ever cold mortgage broker client, which was possibly one of the coolest moments I've ever felt, because I could not believe, because at first when I said like I'd never got any leads before, I'd been on a few calls, but basically some people might have said, yeah, that sounds really good, and then I'd never get any answer from them ever. and they'd be like, yeah, that sounds pretty good, but then I'd never hear from them. And this was the first time ever that I got someone on a sales call. They said yes, and then a day later, I actually saw the money on my Stripe account, and I was like, oh my god, like I've got somebody who like this is work, like this has worked. Like, and he found out about me through my LinkedIn content. He reached out to me inbound, sending me a DM. He booked a call with me, and I made my offer. I applied all the things I learned in all the sales book I'd read months and months before. I remember I wrote down my script. I was really nervous, and I pitched it, and he said yeah, and then he paid me, and I was like, oh my god, and that was really cool. Um, and so that kind of led me into, and then when I got that, it filled me with a lot of confidence to keep going. And I realized that LinkedIn really worked. So in month 10, basically, I started posting on LinkedIn every single day. This is when I kind of stepped it up and I was like, oh my God, LinkedIn's really good. I'm going to buy this thing with the money I just got, which is a template to post every single day for 30 days on LinkedIn by a creator that I follow called Matt Barker, who's really, really cool. If you want to learn about how to post on LinkedIn and monetize an audience, I would definitely follow him. And also buy that product because it's insanely good. So I started, so I bought that and I started posting every single day on LinkedIn. And I got absolutely huge growth from it. I remember like I got hundreds of followers in the month where I was used to getting like 50. I got hundreds. And I got more and more, I basically got more and more connections, and I also got a bit more of a relationship with my mentor. And at that time, because I was following the processes and everything I'd learned, I just started doing more of it. I got client number two, and client number two came along, and I was like, oh my God, this is really working, so I'm going to keep doing it. And I kept doing it, and then that kind of, what that taught me in October is I learned that if you want to get really good at something, you have to do it a lot. Because when I started posting LinkedIn twice a week, Tuesday and Thursday, 10:30, obviously I was only doing it I was only doing it twice a week. So I wasn't really getting the reps in, if you get what I mean. Like, I was learning how to post content, but I was only practicing twice a week. But then when I started doing it in October and I was learning as well as writing every single day, I was getting really good at writing content that gets me customers. So as a result, in November, this is probably like the craziest month in my business. So last month, or just a bit, 2 months ago now, because I got much better at writing content. I started again doing it every month, and I had a bit more of a following now. So I started building, and I built connections with people in the industry. And basically, I mean, this is when I learned. I was like, you know what? Now I've got a following. I'm going to try and make a sort of lead magnet and monetize my audience and get something out of it. So I made this like free course, which you could download, but it's for mortgage brokers. I made this free course, and and I tried to make it as good as I possibly could. I modeled it off Alex Hormozy. So I made like a lead magnet, and I spent 50 plus hours making this thing, and I basically posted it all over my LinkedIn, and I got all the people I had in my connections to tell their audiences about it. And I remember I expected to just get like 10 leads, and I got 74 people download that lead magnet. I got 20 sales calls, and at the end of the month, I had 15 people on a waiting list because so I had 2 clients. I signed my 3rd client from it. I got 74 leads, and I also got 20 people book a sales call, and 15 people say they wanted to do it. So I had, but I realized like I couldn't do this 3 people and help more of these 15 people, so I had to put them on a waiting list, and they're still waiting now. And that was insane. I remember one day, I can't remember when it was, like specifically the day, but I just remember I was walking back from uni with my girlfriend, and I had a look at my calendar, and I got like three meetings booked in back to back. Like I just looked at my emails, I got 3 meetings booked in, And then I thought, hold on, I've already got 3 booked in this week as well. And I was like, oh my God, I've got 6 calls this week. And then when we were back there, I got another 3 calls booked in or something. I had like 10 calls booked in like 2 days. And then as the week went on, I had another 10 come in, and I had like 20 calls done over a 2-week period. And I was like, this is insane, because literally like 3 or 4 months ago, I had absolutely nobody. And I was like, this isn't going to work. And that was a really cool month. And I think that is when like I really started to go like, this is really, really cool. Oh, I forgot to mention something, but I'm not going to mention it now because it's a bit confusing. But basically, I meant to say in month 8 that is when I started the podcast. But that was all I was going to mention. But yeah, I saw my 3rd client in November, and that was probably the best month. But what I realised then, because I'd obviously up to that point I'd never really done lots of work for clients because I'd just been trying to get clients, and this is when I started, and I'm still learning the lessons now. It's when I started to learn the importance of managing your clients' expectations and delivering results to people. I've realised as well that throughout business you kind of have stages that you go through. So the first thing is you're trying to figure out what you want to sell, and then when you figure out that, you figure out what you're trying to get people, and then when you figure out how to get people, once you figured those out, you then got to try and like, manage expectations, deliver good results. And that's you can only do those in that order because you can only do what you're doing. So I can't learn how to manage clients' expectations when I got no clients. So yeah, I learn in that month. I learned the importance of managing clients' expectations and delivering results, and I'm still learning that now to try and get as good as that as possible. But I'm very, very thankful that I stopped at 3. I've now signed a 4th because for February, but I'm very thankful that I stopped at those 3 people, didn't take any more on, because what I'm really scared of doing, and I think I've mentioned it already, but I'm really scared of taking on too many people, delivering a crappy service, and then that just ruins my reputation. I'd much rather take on 1 person and it'd be really slow, but I deliver an insanely good service, and then I can do it for 2 people, and then once I do it for them, I can do it for 4, then 8, and I just that's a much better way. I don't want to run before you can walk. So that's the biggest lesson that I learned in November. And that brings me on to last month, which is December, and month 12, which is that's kind of like, it's the end of the year obviously, and it's when it's Christmas, so that's when the whole rest of the year I've been so go go go. Like month 2 to 5 I was like go 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 on everything, trying to start. Then I had June where I was a bit slower because things happen and I started to feel a bit shitty. But then after I started, September, October, and November was very go 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 as well. I got to December and I was quite tired, so because it was Christmas, I decided to take a little bit of a rest. And so things started. My business didn't start to slow down. I still posted every day on LinkedIn. I still had those 3 clients that I had to work for, but just in terms of like, I started to just not be as aggressive with like every day. I used to wake up and used to be like, right, we're going to do this, this, and this. So I just be like, wake up, have a bit of a slower morning, and just kind of do the jobs that I needed to do in the day. I wasn't as like aggressive because I just wanted to kind of have a little bit of a calm down after a very productive year. But I think one thing that I have noticed over December, and I'm kind of feeling it a bit now, is that what I did do is I did get a bit complacent with the fact that I generated business. And yeah, if I think back to months 2 to 5, I was so hungry and driven to get business, and I was like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. I was so hungry to like get good results, start a business, make money. But now I don't have the same drive I did then, because I think I've got complacent with the fact that I've like generated business, I've got a waiting list, and I'm a bit like, I can take my foot off the gas, which is completely wrong. It's the opposite way. I should be way more on it because I've got people I actually have to deliver results for. So that's something I've realised that I've done recently. And I think it's because I went on holiday to Berlin, which was absolutely lovely. I had Christmas, I had New Year, and I kind of just stopped. And it's been like a bit of a weird one because I've stopped and then I've kind of like got into a bit of a slump, and I've stopped kind of feeling the confidence, and I've kind of realised that actually right now as I'm talking about it, which is kind of weird. But I have one thing to mention, which is like, because I've realised that whilst I've been making this episode in 2024, basically I'll talk to you through my plans. My plans for 2024 I'll go into first is I've got goals, but I set my goals actually on my 20th birthday. And the two goals I set were to earn £20,000 through whatever means. It doesn't have to necessarily, obviously the main driver of that will be through the business, but it could be like, I also include like, if I work a part-time job or something like that. So it was to generate £20,000 by my 21st birthday and read 30 books. I'm already 10 books in and I'm 10% on my way to the goal. So I'm 10 books of the way through, so I'm on track to get the books. But first of all, I want to say, when I look back on the year, I've had an absolutely amazing year. It's been so cool. Like, I've started my business. I've actually stuck and committed to a business. I've not just started an idea, made a plan, and then quit 2 weeks later. I've actually stuck to something for a year, and I've got something out of it, and it's working. So it's been absolutely insane. I've learned a lot of valuable lessons, and like, this is probably the year where I've like grown the most. I also wanted to say, even though I started the podcast in August, I want to say thank you to everybody who, you know, watches it and subscribes, because I really appreciate all the support, and people always put really nice comments as well. So thank you for that. But the biggest problem I've got going into 24, the biggest problem I'm dealing with right now, is this thing of being driven, and I think I've kind of lost my confidence in myself, because I remember month 2 to 5, I was so confident that I was going to earn money and have a really successful business, and now I've lost confidence in that, and I don't know why. It's a really weird thing to kind of say, but I don't feel the driven way I did in months 2 to 5. I like used to believe every day when I woke up that like, however much money I'd aimed to get, like, I was going to get it. I was going to get there. I just had to keep doing this. I was like, I used to wake up every day and I was like excited. But recently it just hasn't been that way, and it's really strange. And I think I have to start thinking about, okay, well, why do I feel like this now when I didn't used to feel like that now? And I think it's because I've had a bit of realizations with like, when I had a bit of like blind optimism. I think it's also what Alex Hormozy talks about, is that I had no idea like the reality of situations because I'd never done them before. So I had these kind of fairy tale fantasies where I was like, I can get 10,000 a month, it's going to be so easy. Look at all these people that did it at my age, it's going to be great. And then I've started doing it, and it's hard. It's taken time, but also now I've got 3 clients. I understand like the pressure, the work that has to go into managing those 3 clients, and the difficulty of actually it's more difficult than I originally thought. And I think that because of that, it's not my confidence slightly. But what I'm trying to do is remind myself that it is achievable, because Napoleon Hill, who I absolutely love, he always says like, you know, believe and you shall receive. If you don't believe it, you won't receive it, because you're not in it. So I just thought I'd wrap it up by saying, you know, mathematically, I have a list of 15 clients on my waiting list, and I have 4 now. I want to achieve £20,000 by my birthday, or by the end of the year, and I'm already 10% of the way through, so I've got to earn £18,000. I have 15 clients on a list, which is £1,200 to earn per person. So if I was going to do it over the course of a year, that's £100 per month per customer, and that is very achievable. When you work it out like that, when you realise that it's £100 per month per person, I could come up with a service very easily right now that would be worth £100 per month per customer. So when I look at it like that, I know it's achievable, and I'm just going to work over the next couple of weeks about getting back into the rhythm, because I left it when I went for December and had a bit of a break, getting back into the rhythm and getting that drive and that like laser focus on growing my business and achieving the things I want to achieve in 2024. And that's basically the end of today's episode. I know it's probably quite a long episode, but I just wanted to wrap up how I started a business in 2023 and my plans going into 2024. I wish you all a happy new year, and that you achieve all the goals that you want to in 2024. So thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in next week's episode.